It's the middle of the night, pitch black, and somewhere out in the wilderness, a wolf tips its head back, opens its jaws toward a giant glowing moon, and lets out that long, mournful howl you've heard in 1,000 movies. It's one of the most iconic images in the animal kingdom. It's on t-shirts, tattoos, album covers, Halloween decorations. Everybody knows it. Wolves howl at the moon. Except here's the twist that's going to bother you for the rest of this video. They don't. Not even a little bit. Not once, not ever, has a wolf howled because of the moon. And once you understand what's actually happening when a wolf throws its head back like that, and why humans got this so wrong for literally thousands of years, you're going to look at every werewolf movie you've ever seen a little differently. Let's start with the obvious question. If wolves aren't howling at the moon, why does it look exactly like they are? Why is this image burned into basically every culture on Earth independently? Because that part isn't fake. Wolves really do tip their heads back and howl at night, and they really do often do it when the moon happens to be huge and bright in the sky behind them. The connection people made wasn't crazy. It was just backwards. Wolves are far more active at night than during the day, especially when hunting, especially in the colder months, and a bright full moon is simply one of the easiest nights for humans to actually witness this. On a pitch-black moonless night, nobody's out there watching wolves do anything. They're just sounds in the dark. But on a clear night, with a full moon lighting up the landscape, a howling wolf silhouetted against that giant white circle is one of the most visually striking things a person can possibly see. So humans saw wolves howling on moonlit nights simply because that's when humans could actually see wolves howling at all, and our brains, which are wired to find patterns whether they're real or not, quietly stitched those two things together into cause and effect. The moon didn't make the wolf howl, the moon just made it possible for you to notice. So if it's not the moon, what's actually going on in that moment? Wolves are, biologically speaking, obsessive communicators, and the howl is basically the loudest, longest range tool they have for talking to each other. A wolf howl can travel for miles, sometimes 6 or more miles depending on terrain, which matters enormously when you consider how wolf packs actually live. These are animals that frequently split up. Some wolves stay to guard pups at a den site, while others range far out on a hunt, sometimes for hours, sometimes overnight. A howl is how they stay in touch across all that distance without ever having to physically find each other first. It functions almost like a check-in call. I'm here, where's everyone else? It also works the opposite way, as a warning to rival packs. Wolves are deeply territorial, and a howl broadcast loudly enough can say, without a single tooth being shown, this entire area already belongs to somebody, so keep walking. Researchers who study wolf vocalizations have found that howls even carry information specific to the individual wolf doing the howling, subtle variations in pitch and rhythm that other wolves can apparently use to recognize exactly who's calling, the same way you'd recognize a friend's voice on the phone before they even say their name. And there's something genuinely touching buried in here too. Howling isn't only functional, it's social, in a way that looks a lot like bonding. When one wolf in a pack starts howling, it's incredibly common for the rest of the pack to join in almost immediately, creating that eerie layered chorus effect you hear in recordings, where it sounds like there are 20 wolves when there might only be 4 or 5. Researchers have observed that these group howling sessions often happen after reunions, when wolves that had been separated come back together, almost like a celebration. It strengthens social bonds within the pack the same way a group of old friends might all start talking over each other with excitement the moment everyone's finally back in the same room. There's also a theory, though this one is a little more debated, that a bigger, louder chorus of overlapping howls might make a small pack sound larger and more intimidating to any rival wolves listening in from a distance, essentially a kind of vocal bluffing. Nobody's fully certain how much of that is intentional strategy versus just an accidental side effect of everyone getting excited at once. But either way, the emotional core of it seems real. Wolves howl together because they want to be together, or because they just were, and something in that reunion needs to be expressed loudly. Now here's where it gets interesting from a pure biology angle, because wolves don't howl randomly throughout the day. They're overwhelmingly more likely to howl at dusk, at night, and right before dawn, and almost never during the bright heat of midday. Researchers studying this pattern point to a fairly practical explanation. Cooler nighttime air is denser and more stable than warm daytime air, and sound genuinely travels further and clearer through it, without as much interference from wind turbulence and heat distortion. In other words, howling at night isn't some mystical choice. It's simply the version of howling that actually works best acoustically. A howl sent out at noon in the summer heat just doesn't carry nearly as far as the exact same howl sent out at 2 a.m. So wolves, being efficient animals that have survived for hundreds of thousands of years by not wasting energy on things that don't work, evolved to do most of their long-distance calling during the hours when the sound would actually go somewhere. The moon has nothing to do with any of it. The moon is just often out during those same hours, an innocent bystander that got wrongly credited for something it never caused. So then why did humans latch onto the moon specifically, out of everything else in the night sky? Part of it is almost certainly just visual drama. A wolf silhouetted against a full moon is an unbelievably good image, the kind of thing that sticks in a person's memory and gets repeated around a campfire, then repeated again generations later, until it hardens into something that feels like established fact even though nobody ever actually tested it. But there's a deeper thread here too, because the moon has carried heavy symbolic weight in human storytelling for about as long as humans have been telling stories at all. Across an enormous range of cultures, completely independent of each other, the full moon got tied to madness, transformation, and the unleashing of some hidden wild nature underneath a civilized surface. The word lunatic literally comes from luna, the moon, because people genuinely believed the full moon could drive humans temporarily insane. Once you already believe the moon has some kind of mysterious power to unlock the wild animal side of a person, it becomes almost irresistible to imagine it doing the same thing to an actual wild animal. The howling wolf under the full moon wasn't really a scientific observation. It was a piece of folklore, and folklore doesn't need to be true. It just needs to be memorable enough to survive being retold. And it worked so well that by the time werewolf legends started spreading through medieval Europe, the connection between wolves, howling, transformation, and the full moon was already baked in so deeply that nobody thought to question it. Hollywood didn't invent the howling wolf and moon image. Hollywood just found something people already believed and pointed a camera at it. What's kind of wonderful, though, once you strip away the myth, is that the real explanation is honestly just as compelling as the fake one. Maybe more so, because it's not about mystery or madness at all, it's about connection. A wolf standing on a ridge at night, throwing its voice as far as it will possibly go, isn't answering some cosmic pull from a rock 238,000 miles away. It's trying to find its family. It's saying, I'm here to a mate, to pups, to a packmate who wandered too far on a hunt and needs to know which direction home is. It's marking a boundary to keep its territory safe. It's celebrating a reunion with the only creatures on Earth that matter to it. The moon just happened to be there, silently lighting the whole thing up so that some human, thousands of years ago, standing at the edge of the same darkness, looked up, felt a chill run down their spine, and decided the moon must be responsible for something so strange and beautiful. It wasn't. It never was. But honestly, understanding the real reason doesn't make the image any less haunting. If anything, it makes it better. Because now when you hear that long, echoing howl drifting across a moonlit field, you know exactly what it means. Somewhere out there, something is calling its family home.